Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this video, we are going to look into the room. Also, it is the room of the SOC level 2 inside TryHackme, right? And the name of the room is Splunk setting up a SOC lab. And it is a medium level room. And the introduction of this room is that we have we have Jasmine. Sorry, let me. So we have Jasmine, that is the owner of the coffee, right? And she had reported a data breach, resulting her secret recipe getting stolen by James, and that guy is from IT department. But before that recipe could get into the hand of competitor, they caught him, right? Now, as an proactive step, Jasmine wants to develop and SOC capability where she wants to monitor the critical logs in a 24 by 7 time frame, right? So in this lab, we are going to take role of the SOC team in which we are going to deploy the SIEM tool, specifically Splunk, and we are going to configure Splunk and then integrate the log sources on specifically to operating system Linux and Windows OS. So prerequisite to this room is introduction to SIEM and Splunk basic, right? And about this lab is in this room, you will handle over two VMs, Linux and Windows, and our task is going to be install Splunk on both machine and then integrate important log sources. And the learning objectives are deep dive into the Splunk installation process, then how to install and configure Splunk in Linux and Windows environment, and how to integrate different log on Splunk, right? So let's move on to the task 2, in which we are going to actually learn about how to set up a lab. Setting up a lab. As explained in Splunk basic rooms, Splunk is a SIEM solution that allows us to collect, analyze, and correlate in a centralized server in real time, right? And this room will cover installing Splunk on Linux and Windows and configuring different log sources from both OS into the Splunk. Lab covers installing Splunk on Ubuntu server, installing and integrate a universal forwarder, and then collecting log from important log sources, files like syslog, auth.log, audited, etc. This is specifically for Linux lab. On Windows lab, we are going to install Splunk on Windows machine, install and integrate universal forwarder, and integrate and monitoring Coffee THM web logs, right? And then integrate window event logs. So this step is completed. So let's complete this and move on to the step 3. So Splunk deployment on Linux server. So Splunk support all major operating system versions. It has very straightforward steps to install and then can be up and running in less than 10 minutes on any platform. This task we will only focus on installing Splunk Enterprise on Linux host. Typically, we would create an account on Splunk.com and then go to Splunk Enterprises and download link to select the installation package. And then as of the writing, this is the latest version, and this is a little snapshot of the download files, right? So in this particular lab, users are not expected to create an account and download the Splunk Enterprise during this activity. All required executables are already downloaded in the relevant path. So now we are going to start the machine. First step is to connect with lab. So this task will explore installing and configuring Splunk on a Linux machine. Connect with the lab by pressing the start machine. We already did that. And button at the top of this task, yes. And the split screen view will be started. And in this case, the VM is not visible. Use the blue, so it will take around 3 to 5 minutes to load, so we are waiting until this is fully initialized, right? For the sake of simplicity, this Splunk installer is already downloaded at the location this, and when this virtual machine will be up and running, we will already have Splunk installer in this folder. So next step, we are going to go to that particular folder, and we are going to install the Splunk, right? So let me open the terminal. Okay, so let us go to downloads and then, sorry, CD. Yes. First, we are going to apply sudo su to change to the root user, right? That's how we can apply these, how we can install the Splunk installation easily. Next comes the Splunk installation. So, so first step is going to be using the tar command, and this will specifically uncompress the Splunk, right? The installer file, this one. So I'm going to use tar xvzf installer, right? And I'm going to also look into the xvzf functionality inside the tar. So let me go to Google tar xvzf. So as you can see, X is for extract file from archive, V is for browse, Z is the zip, and or unzip, and then F is the file archive. All right, now I will run this command. So it's taking a bit time, but we have to wait until it's completely uncompressed. And then it says here that we are going to have a new folder named Splunk after it is uncompressed. And then we are going to go to start this Splunk after uh, after moving to this folder name OPT. So let's see the Splunk. Now we have to use Splunk. So let's now move to the OPT Splunk. We also have to move Splunk to OPT. Let me go back. CD. Now let's move Splunk to OPT. Okay, and now let's go to the OPT Splunk folder and then bin. And then we have the command which is Splunk start accept license. Hmm. So we have dot slash administrator username. We are going to we need to create a user account. So I will create name Anmol. So I'm going to set up a new password now. Perfect. Now it says waiting for web server at this to be available. Now it's over here says congrats, we successfully installed Splunk on our Linux machine, which took us less than 10 minutes. Yeah, of course. And then now open the browser within the VM and go to address this. And it also says here Splunk web interface is at this particular address, right? So I'm going to open the web, open the browser, waiting for the browser to get load. So then I'm going to type http coffee 8000. Going to provide my username and password. So I'm expecting what it says here. The question: what is the default port for Splunk? It should be 8000. Okay. So now Splunk is running here successfully, as you can see. We will move on to the next task, which is task 4, that is Splunk interacting with CLI. Okay, next is now we have installed Splunk. It is important to learn some key commands while interacting with Splunk instance or through CLI, right? So these commands are run from the OPT Splunk directory, and it is important that note that we can use the same command on different platforms, of course. And then command Splunk start is used to start the Splunk server. This command starts all the necessary Splunk processes and enable the server to accept incoming data. Okay, and if the server is already running, this command will have no effect. Okay, so let's first try to go to OPT Splunk and now try to start this Splunk by using /bin/splunk start command. Is already running, right? Next is Splunk stop command. So let's use stop instead of start. Stopping Splunk, shutting down, please wait. As you can see in the background, it says disconnecting from Splunk server. So now Splunk is being stopped. Okay, now the third command is Splunk restart, right? And now I'm going to use restart. Next command is going to be Splunk status. This command is used to check the status of Splunk server. This command will display information about the current state of the server, including whether it is running or not, or any error that may be occurring, right? So let's run here status. It says here that Splunk is running with this process ID and Splunk helpers are running with these process IDs. Great. And next is Splunk add one shot. This command is used to add single event to the Splunk index. This is useful for testing purpose or for adding individual events that may not be part of the large data stream. Okay, next is Splunk search. Splunk search command is used to search for data in Splunk index. This command can be used to search for specific event as well as to perform more complex searches using Splunk search language. So for example, they have run a Splunk coffee command and it will specifically look into the coffee word, right? And then we have Splunk help. As usual, this is the help command which is used to know about the more commands of a particular tool. Similarly, here after running Splunk help, these are the commands which it will display. So it is pretty uh, important command. If we forgot about something, then we can just use Splunk help to know about the different commands that are inbuilt in this Splunk to go through that tool, right? And it says here these are just a few to many CLI commands available in Splunk. Administrator can use CLI to manage and configure their Splunk server more effectively or efficiently. And then in Splunk, what is the command to search for the term coffee in logs? So they have shown us here that they used slash dot slash bin Splunk search coffee. So I'm going to put it here dot slash bin slash Splunk search coffee. Sure. So these are the different commands, and we also have the syntax of the command. So for example, app suggests specify the app or the namespace to run the command. Uh, Task 5 is Splunk data ingestion, right? Configuring data ingestion is an important part of Splunk. This allows for the data to indexed and searchable for the analyst. Now, Splunk accepts data from various logs, source like operating systems, web application, IDS logs, host query logs, etc. In this task, we will use Splunk Forwarder to index Linux log into Splunk instance. Splunk forwarders. Splunk has two primary type of forwarder that can be used in different use cases: heavy forwarder and universal forwarders. So heavy forwarder are used when we need to apply a filter, analyze or make changes to the logs at the source before forwarding it to the destination. In this task, we will be installing and configuring universal forwarder. This is a lightweight agent that gets installed on the target host, and its main purpose is to get the logs and send them into the Splunk instance or another forwarder without applying any filter or indexing. It has to be downloaded separately and has to be enabled before use. In our case, we will use a universal forwarder to ingest logs. Now, universal forwarders can be downloaded from the official Splunk website. For this task, 64-bit version of Linux forwarder is already downloaded in the folder named download/Splunk. Okay, so so we have one file named Splunk forwarder, right? So I'm going to go to root user and then use star xvzf Splunk forwarder and unzip this file. Now we will move Splunk forwarder to /opt folder, right? Then let's cd to opt Splunk forwarder, and then let's start the forwarder with /bin /splunk start accept license administrator and new password. Let's enter the new port, which is 8090 as shown here. Great. So by default, Splunk forwarder run on 8089 port. If the system finds the port unavailable, it will ask the user for the custom port. In this example, we are using 8090 for the forwarder. Splunk forwarder is up and running but does not know what data to send and where. This is what we are going to configure next. So question is, what is the default port on which Splunk forwarder runs on? We know it's 8090. Sorry, 8089. This time we are running it on 8090, but default port is 8089. So task 6 is configuring forwarder on Linux. So next task is to configure forwarder on Linux. Now that we have installed the forwarder, it need to know where to send data. So we will configure it on the host end to send data and configure Splunk so that it knows where to receive where it is receiving the data. So let's go to this Splunk, then go to setting, forwarding and receiving. It says here it will show the multiple option to configure both forwarding and receiving. As we want to receive data from Linux endpoint, we will click on configuring receiving and then proceed to by configuring a new receiving port. So let's click configure forwarding. Then by default, Splunk instance receives data from the forwarder on port 9997. It's up to us to use this port or change it. For now, we will configure our Splunk to start listening on port 9997 and save as shown. So we are going to click configure receiving, right? And then listening port is 9997, save. So it says here if we want to delete this entry, we can click here on the delete and just delete the entry we have enabled, right? So let's move on to next one, which is creating index. Now in creating index, now we have enabled listening port. The important step is to create an index that will store all the receiving data. If we do not specify an index, it will start storing received data in the default index, which is called main index. So after creating index, configuring forwarder, and setting up the log sources, we are going to utilize logger utility, which is logger is a built-in command line tool. Logger is a built-in command line tool to create test logs added to syslog file. As we already monitoring the syslog file and sending all logs to Splunk, the log we generate in the next step can be found with Splunk logs. To run the command, use the following command. Let's first cd to opt Splunk forwarder bin. Then use tail only one line from var log and syslog command to see the one of the log. Also, we can go here, go to search and reporting, go to index, which itself is Linux host. So next question is follow the same step and ingest var log auth.log file and file into the Splunk index Linux log. What is the value in the source type field? Great. So we're going to follow the steps we already have followed here, that we are going to add this one. We're going to run command dot slash splunk add monitor monitor slash var slash log and dot auth dot log to the index name Linux host. Great. Now I will go to Splunk. I'm going to run this again. Is it? So it asks about the source type field. Is it syslog? Yes, right. And next is create a new user named analyst using command add user analyst. Once created, look at the event generated in Splunk related to user creation activity. How many events are returned as a result of user creation? We're going to use add user analyst command error. So I have to look into the add user command. Add user. Okay, so let's add you. Sorry, user add name analyst. Okay, it says now let's go here. You have to search specific term. So let's search term analyst. It returns to event. No. Okay. Host is Kofili. So what is the path of the group the user is added after creation? changed index to internal, then it returns 6 events. Okay. The next is, what is the path of the group the user is added after creation? So to search user in Linux, we have to use get ent pass wd. Okay. TNT group. Okay, a lot of groups. That is not the. There are like a lot of groups. It's difficult to look for a specific group which holds this user, right? And next command we can try is we don't have the username or groups analyst. Analyst, analyst. etc groups. Yes. Or cat etc group, then group name. Shows here. So analyst is part of 101. 100. Specific. A group name, a colon, then a list of username associated with that group. as separated by commas, for example, sudo x27 John Doe. The thought behind this answer, which is etc slash group, I searched it on Google, right, and then I came to know that all the groups are listed in this path, etc slash group. Then I ran this command, which is cat group. So after that, I realized that the answer also requires like first 3-digit path and then 4-digit, for sorry 5-digit. So it must be etc and group. So it was hit and trial method, but I specifically don't know how to search it on this Splunk. But that's how things work. So we will move on to the next one, in which I'm going to move to the task 7, which is installing Splunk on Windows. So first I'm going to start the machine here. Let's terminate this machine and start the Windows machine. So installing Splunk on a window platform is relatively simple with just running the installer and connect with the Windows machine by clicking Start Machine. We already did, and it will take some time. Open the window machine. We will first install Splunk, configure a forwarder to capture window event logs, and then integrate Cofeli web logs to collect all request and response into Splunk instance. For that, we have to download the Splunk Enterprise, but in this case, the installer Splunk instance is already been downloaded and placed in download folder. So I'm now installing the Splunk instance. So check this box to accept the license agreement and then next. Let's provide the credentials. Click install. Let's wait until this installation is completed. So it took about 10 minutes to install Splunk, and now we will go to this address. So I just entered the credentials and now it is taking some time to log in. Okay, so we are finally logged in. And next is what is the default port Splunk run zone. So it is 8000. Next is click on the Add Data tab. How many methods are available for data ingestion? So there are total 3. Next is click on monitor option. What is the first option shown in the monitoring list? That is local event logs. Great. So task 8 is installing and configuring forwarder. So we will go to settings, go to forwarding and receiving. It is same as we did in like Linux lab, right? It's going to be quite repetitive. So we are going to then click on configure receiving. Then new receiving port 999 save. So we have configured the receiving port. Next is installing Splunk forwarder. So again, we have it here. Double click it. Preparing to install. This is going to be an on-premises Splunk Enterprise instance. Let's check this box. Click next. Username. Host name. So this configuration is important if we install forwarder on multiple hosts. We can skip this step as this step is optional. Okay. You have not specified a deployment server or receiving indexer as configured. Universal forwarder will do nothing. If this is a mistake, please click back button on to the next dialog and provide deployment server. Okay, let us provide 2127.0.1 port 8089. Click next, install. Sorry, I did the wrong port. Can add a new port here as well, I think. 9. It is not available. Okay. Hmm. So how to troubleshoot this? Now we have to change the default port that we have set up as 8089 to 9997. I'm going to specify port here. Okay. I assume this should work. And next is, if we had provided the information about the deployment server during the installation phase, our host detail would be available in settings, forwarder, management. No clients. That is. For the first question, we need to tell the path where the Splunk is stored, the installation is stored, right? Let me try to reinstall the forwarder. I don't think it is successfully installed, so we will give it another try. Already been installed. Okay. Parcel for order. What is the default port on which Splunk configure forwarder? Default is, of course, it is mentioned here, 9997. Next, task 9 is to ingesting window logs. So we have successfully installed the forwarder. It is time to configure Splunk to receive event logs from the host. Configure the forwarder to collect event logs from the host and then send them to Splunk indexer. So let's go to Splunk. This window VM is a bit slow than the Linux. Go to settings, forwarder management. It says here that forward management tab to get the details of all the deployment hosts in an actual network. This tab will be filled with all hosts and server configured to send logs to Splunk indexer. but I don't think the Splunk forward is installed properly. So one thing I'm going to do is uninstall this and install it again with the proper port.
So today we are going to install the Splunk on the Windows machine. In front of you, you can see that I have already started the machine, right? And now we are going to follow the steps to actually install the Splunk on this Windows machine. Now in the real world, we will actually download the file and install it. But uh, in this room, the installer is already in the download folder. So I'm just going to open the download folder and let's double click on the Splunk instance. Just have to wait a little bit until the installation prep is done. So let's check this box, click on next. Let's try username and password. Have to wait until this setup is done. Okay, so the installation is done. Let me enter the username and the password we have set before. So there are some questions like what is the default port Splunk runs on? That is 8000, right? And then click on the add data button and how many methods are available for data ingestions. Those are 3. And I can show you that for sure. So we click on add data. Just wait a bit until the page completely loads up. I don't want to save password, just skip the tour for now, and you can see we have 3 options to add data, right? And the third question is click on monitor option. What is the first option you show option shown in the monitoring list? So that's simple. Click on the option, and the first is local event logs. Now then we have to install the forwarder. Next is configure receiving. Now we are going to go into settings, forwarding and receiving. Basically, we have set up a Splunk. Now we want to configure it to receive data. So we are going to allow the specific port on which it is going to receive the data. So I'm just going to click here on configure receiving. So new receiving port. I will add 9997 port. Click save. That's been done. Now we are going to install the Splunk forwarder. Again, in the real life application, we are going to download the file. Uh, Let me show you. So we are going to download the file from the official website. But in this case, as I said earlier, we already have that file in the download folder. So I'm just going to use that file, double click this installer, and we'll complete the process of installing, waiting for it to prepare the install. Just gonna click this checkbox and click next, giving it a username, password, click next. So now it says setting up deployment server. This configuration is important if we install Splunk Forwarder on multiple hosts. We can skip this step as this is optional. Okay, and next is setting up listener. We must specify the server IP address and port number to ensure that our Splunk instance gets the logs from this host. By default, Splunk listens on port 9997 for any incoming traffic. So I'm going to provide the IP address here and the default port. Click next, install. While it's going to take some time, like 3 to 5 minutes, I'm going to wait for the installation to complete, and then we will configure the next steps. So now it is completed. I can click finish. So it says we had provided the information about the deployment server during the installation phase. Our host detail would be available in setting forwarder. So I'm going to setting and then forwarder management. It doesn't show me anything. Okay, let me configure forwarding. So the port is missing. I'm gonna add the port. So let me change the IP address to this IPv4, which is 10.10.245.135. So I'm gonna delete this. Host is going to be 10.10.245.135. And port again is going to be 8089. So that is going to be the forwarder IP address. Now we have set up the forwarder IP and the receiving IP. Let's proceed to task 9 and see if this thing is working or if I'm missing something. So it says check forward management. I am already here. Go to setting forward management tab. Yes, of course. And then in an actual environment network, this tab will be filled with all the host and server configured to send logs to the Splunk indexer. But I couldn't see a single one here. It will appear here if we have properly configured the forwarder on the host. Now it's time to configure Splunk to receive the event logs. But no, it is not showing here. So so this forwarder is able to connect to enough. The feature has a severe issue. Okay, this has the issue. Show when this forwarder can connect to the enough configured receivers. But here you see it says only forwarder is missing. What is in the forwarding default? Let me have a look. So forwarding default, store a local copy of forwarded event. Yes, let's do it. There are big issues. Okay, wait. Let me go to the basics. Forwarder and receiving, configure receiving. Oh, wait. We missed a crucial step here, bro. Come on, come on. Why this instance is so slow? Okay, as you can see, for receiving, we have this port listening, right? It is already enabled. Now for forwarding, so it says enter the host name or the IP address of your receiving indexer. So this is the IP address of my receiving indexer. So we cannot edit this, so I'm going to delete and set up a new forwarding host after this. But for some reason, this machine is so slow, so I have to wait. So setting up now host is 27.0.0.1. I think the IP address should be 8000. Let's go to forward management. Nothing is shown here. There is something wrong. No, mm, there is something wrong that I'm unable to configure. So the logic behind this, what I'm understanding is that this Splunk forwarder will receive the logs from the host name we are providing here in the receiving index. Mm, Where we have the deployment server. Now if I want to configure the deployment server again, where would I have that? Let me go to server setting, deployment client. It says disabled. I'm gonna wait for some time again. I'll go to general settings. This is something to pay attention for. Management port is this. Let's configure this step and check if we can receive some logs. So let's go to forward in the add data section. Yeah, so it says there are currently no forwarder configured as deployment client to this instance. There is something seriously wrong. So one thing now I'm gonna do is uninstall and install the forwarder again. This time I'm going to provide the information of the deployment server in the first hand. Okay, Let's go here, click install. So let's accept the license agreement and we're going to on premises, click next, give it a username, generate a password, confirm the password, as simple as that, click next. Now the deployment server, I'm gonna provide 127.0.1.8089. Click next. Host 127.0.0.1.997. Click next. Install. Okay, so the installation is complete. Let me go here, refresh the page. Hopefully it works this time. No. It says restart required by handler. Now it is working. Great. So uninstalling and installing it again worked for us. Great. Now next thing we are going to do is go to add data. Click forward. Okay. Now select this machine. Now going to give name this Coffee Lab. Click next. Source local event logs. Forwarded events. Click next. Now creating indexing instead of So create new index. Let's name it uh, window logs. Save this. Click next. Review. Submit. Then click start searching. Great. It says we have successfully configured Splunk to receive event logs from the window host. Now, even though I don't completely understand the steps of the deployment server and things, but it says we have done this. So now we are going to answer these questions, which is while selecting local event logs to monitor, how many event logs are available to select from the list to monitor? I didn't pay attention. I can see search for the event with the event code this, and let me see if I can type event code equals 4624. Hmm. Let's do this. Source equals win event log, giving it asterisk value, then index is going to be win logs. Interesting. Let me have a look at the window indexes. I think answer to this question can be from the this screenshot because it asks about like while selecting log event log terminator, how many event logs are available to select from the list terminator. 4, 5. Yeah. And so let's do this again. Go to setting, add data. Data is going to be from data Splunk forwarder. Going to select window Coffee. Name is going to be Coffee Lab. Next. Let's go with 2. Oh, so it's it has selected security system as well. Okay, click next. We only selected uh, wait. Last time we only selected this forwarded events. Let's select all this. Click window lock. Now let's submit this. Start searching. I hope now we will see some logs. Could not send data to output queue. Retry. There are some issues, but just a second. I just realized maybe we haven't configured the receiving end. It is configured. Let me delete these two. Okay, let me try again the search. No results, so I don't know what's wrong with. Oh, yes, finally we do have some results. Let me search event code 4624. Hmm, okay, so it says search the event code this. Yes, and what is the value of the field message? What you mean by field message here? Hmm, so this is all about what this field is all about, and maybe this an account. Yeah, this is the message. So finally, an account was successfully logged on. Great. Now task 10th and the last task I think is the ingesting Coffee weblogs. So window host we connected to Splunk instance also host a local copy of their website which can accessed via this from the VM and is in the development phase. You are asked to configure Splunk to receive the weblog from this website to trace the order and improve coffee sales. Okay, so these sites will allow user to order coffee online. In the backend, it will keep track of all the requests and responses and the order placed. Now let's follow the next steps to ingest weblogs into Splunk. Here, let's go to add data, forwarder, Again, we're going to select this. This time the name is going to be the web logs, files and directories. Input file is C. Okay, I'm just gonna copy paste it. Okay, let me type this C init pub logs log files w3 svc star. Okay, next. So next we will select the source type of our logs. As our web is hosted on IIS server, we will choose this option and create an appropriate index for this log. Okay, select and what? List? Let me create new IIS index. Save. Now let's select this IIS. Okay. No, 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 let's. Do we need to create appropriate index for this log? Yes, I created in IIS. That's fine. Or we can create new with IIS logs. IIS logs review. Yes. Submit, of course, and then searching. Start searching, right? Don't give me this. Indexes. Web logs. Oh, indexes web logs? No, 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 wait. Indexes IIS logs. So the log should start propagating in 4 to 5 minutes in the search tab. Okay, we'll wait for some time.